pollution, climate change, environmental accidents, natural disasters, endangered species. Permanent headlines in the never-ending story of our brave new world. Man lives in a world of dramatic changes, and many of these changes are endangering the future. Abrupt increase of population, cruel and daily depletion of the biosphere by reckless hunting and fishing, deforestation, human laziness, and endless greed in the use of resources. All of these have a deep impact upon nature. Tomorrow's horizon is cloudy. Where has been the mistake? Was it inevitable? The harmony between elements seems to be irreversibly damaged. And we know that we cannot restore the environment to its state at the beginning of human history, but we have to find a new equilibrium between man and nature. For this, we have to reconcile our future with the past, to understand the causes and timeline of changes, to accommodate ourselves to these changes, to use them to our benefit. As always in natural and social sciences, the direct path to the future is the past. I observe, therefore I understand. I adapt, therefore I survive. This must have been the unwritten philosophy of life for the ancient humans who settled by the rivers. With their fertile plains and waters so rich in resources, rivers provided the ancient civilizations with the essentials for a better and more secure life. The first ancient cities rose along river valleys in China, India, Mesopotamia, or Egypt. And humans started to understand the complexity of natural phenomena by observing how the rivers, so crucial for their lives, continually changed and adapted their lives correspondingly. Trying to avoid the perils from the depth of the sea or from the inscrutable sky, they started to understand how nature works. From erecting huts built on pillars and stilts to avoid flooding, to the way the ancient populations began channeling water flow and developing irrigation systems to water their crops, civilization grew by maximizing the benefits of living by water. In the lower parts of the rivers, ancient humans reached the deltas and the estuaries, probably some of the richest habitats on this planet. The wealth of these areas where the river and marine water mix has been always limited by the need to understand the rules of nature and to avoid the hazards. The sea has been the gate to the entire planet. Dangerous but always fascinating, it has provided humans with resources and a way to communicate and establish contacts between the various civilizations. Along their routes, the ancient mariners have always looked for the mouths of the rivers as places of wealth and fortune and gates to new territories. From Alexandria to Rome, from London to Hamburg, from ancient history on the mouths of the Danube to Paris, humans from all ages of history try to obtain the best of the resources provided both by the rivers and the seas. And for most of history, nature and humans managed to coexist in harmony. But this relationship was not to last. Abrupt changes occurred about 2 centuries ago as a new major global actor started influencing the surface of the Earth. The Industrial Revolution brought an explosive growth of demand for the natural resources of the rivers and the seas. Humanity began to dream that it would someday harness nature and has been trying to do so. Just like children playing with overcomplicated toys, humans took actions with unpredictable effects, most of which had a bad influence on the natural habitats. The demographic explosion generated an abrupt increase in demand for new lands to exploit for natural goods and raw materials as wood or minerals, up to a level that has exhausted the resources of many parts of the planet. Rivers, river mouths and the seas under their influence have been subject to dramatic abuses, nowadays being some of the most affected environments. The development of towns and cities along the rivers from the upper parts downstream to the coast left little or no space for the constant and natural change and evolution of the watersheds. Discharges of polluted waters from industries and towns built along the riverbanks contributed to the overall degradation of water quality. Deforestation within river catchments brought to accelerated erosion of soil, leading to rivers being choked by sediment, reducing water quality sea and producing catastrophic floods downstream. Increasing populations in towns and cities resulted in large areas of the alluvial plains transformed into agricultural lands, with fertilizers and pesticides leaking into rivers and washed down towards the seas. The demand for energy made people build dams for hydroelectric power plants. Besides their positive effects, these actions produce collateral damage, as dams drastically sever the continuity of the water flow with everything it contains, from the mountains to the seas. Some fish and other species naturally moving between seas and other parts of rivers had their migration corridors blocked. Another negative impact demonstrates the complexity of these natural systems. Alluvia transported by the water remains in the barrage lakes upstream the dams, with lesser quantities transported towards the river mouths. But sands and muds, even though seemingly unimportant, are the materials deltas and beaches are made of. So when river waters brought less sediments to the sea, deltas started to sink and beaches began to be washed away by the waves. Not only the interventions in the upper parts of the rivers affected the system, in addition, the uncontrolled exploitation of resources in the deltas and estuaries has contributed to their depletion. Then there is the intensity of performed activities. Overfishing, for instance, has played a major role in depleting life in the once fabulously rich waters of river mouths. So, where are we now? Global climate change is adding further stress to lakes and river systems already dramatically affected by the excessive human engagement, with influence felt from the springs to the coastal seas. With no place to go and no space to move, rivers started to react. Restrictions on the natural channels of rivers due to hard embankments, dikes and dams, together with abrupt changes of climates, have been the main causes of the catastrophic effects of the floods in rivers and river mouths over recent decades. What can we do? Well, we are trying to find solutions so we can return to living in harmony with the rivers, the seas they influence, and the zones where they meet. And Europe is in the forefront of this research. The Water Framework Directive, which entered into force in 2000, is the first comprehensive strategic policy aiming to restore water quality and availability to good levels at the scale of an entire continent. Many universities, research centers and companies have been trying to find ways to improve the quality of natural habitats along the rivers, from the mountain peaks to the seas. But there is still an enormous amount of work to be done. We must strive to understand the processes controlling rivers and seas. Even more, we need to understand how we, humans, fit into this equation and how we generate changes to entire river-sea systems. The International Center for Advanced Studies on River-Sea Systems is part of this effort. Known also as DANUBIUS RI, this major initiative is developing a pan-European research infrastructure dedicated to the integrated study of these complex systems and the opportunities and risks they present to society. DANUBIUS RI looks like a puzzle, with its components spread over Europe. It will comprise a hub and a data center in Romania, a technology transfer office in Ireland, and super sites and nodes across Europe. The hub will provide leadership, coordination, and key scientific, educational, and analytical capabilities. The DANUBIUS RI super sites are locations of high scientific importance, where observation, research and modeling will be focused. These super sites range from relatively pristine sites, such as in the Danube Delta, to areas highly impacted by human activity, such as in the Thames estuary and the Venice Lagoon. Other super sites will cover the middle and upper parts of the Danube in Hungary and Austria, and other European river-sea systems. The complexity of the Elbe estuary in Germany and of the Catalan Delta system in Spain will provide other extremely valuable information that will help develop excellent river-sea management plans. The Nestos River Delta Sea system in Greece is representative of many small mountainous rivers which flow into the world seas and oceans. All the data collected will be processed in the DANUBIUS RI nodes. These will be existing centers of expertise in observation, analysis, modeling, and social and economic sciences. Initially, the leadership of the nodes will be based in the United Kingdom, Germany, Italy, and the Netherlands, but with linked laboratories across Europe to increase capability and capacity of the key research disciplines. There is an explanation for the complexity of this interdisciplinary research infrastructure. Traditional scientific vision, whether discipline-specific or with separate freshwater and marine disciplines, has not managed to provide sustainable solutions for the many problems. A new approach is needed to tackle these complex systems, an approach that will enable studies that cross disciplines and cover rivers from their source to the sea. And DANUBIUS RI intends to be the infrastructure that will ensure that this new approach becomes reality. The importance of this approach is shown by the recognition of DANUBIUS RI as new project on the 2016 roadmap of the European Strategy Forum on Research Infrastructures, ESFRI, and as flagship project for the European Union strategy for the Danube region. The knowledge produced by interdisciplinary research enabled by DANUBIUS RI will help us build plans to adapt to the critical effects of climate change and help us return to living in harmony with the rivers and seas. Or, from a wider perspective, have us, humans, better accepted by nature.